Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey there, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle with you. It is time for your Lunchtime Live weather update here on our Thursday, January 18th. Just a few minutes before noon, so thanks for joining me out there on YouTube World, also Rumble and Facebook. I see you, Lisa. I got two of you from Mustang. You and Jim are going to have to duke it out now. But I do love hearing where you guys are from, so type that in the comment section. That way I know. Jennifer Parker says there's no sound. Well, Jennifer, crank up the volume and you will get you some sound. But we are in store for some changes, obviously. We've got a decent change today and yesterday because we've got some sunshine that's returned, and also we've got some warmer temperatures, which is nice. Thank you, David, for the stars here as we kick off our Lunchtime Live here on this Thursday. Out there currently, well, I got news for you. Lots of sun. Beautiful afternoon. Beautiful skies coming up here for today. And just some clouds around, high-level clouds. Temperatures still on the chilly side, but at least we're above freezing, holding right about 40 degrees in my backyard. You're probably pretty close to that, depending on where you are here in the state. I'm seeing some of your comments as I speak. It's hard to do both things. Squirrel. Anyway, all right, so let's see. Let me post the link real quick on Facebook. If you guys are joining me here, and a lot of times you're not getting notifications, or you'd like to get a notification from me, just click the link I just posted. There's two options there. You can do the Facebook broadcast channel, or you can do the opt-in weather updates. Either one will work, but the Facebook broadcast channel is a new and improved version. I'll probably be phasing out the opt-in version here and save myself some money on that deal, since Facebook is now cooperating with another way to notify you when I go live. So that's a good deal for everybody. Okay, so let's shift gears and let's talk about what's out there and what's coming. So we've got a cold start to the day. So we were to the teens and 20s across a good chunk of Oklahoma. There was still some low 30s hanging on barely down along the Red River. And as we talked about, the winds aren't as strong today as they were yesterday. We do have this wind that's coming in out of the north. We have a little area of high pressure that is built in around a weak cold front right here across the Panhandle region, and that air is flowing clockwise around a high. So it's kind of reinforcing some cooler weather in here, kind of some old air that's been sitting up to our north. So it's not a major cold front, but it is something that's going to help to kind of cool us down or keep us from warming up. Let's just put it that way. Temperatures out there for today currently are into the 40s across the state. We do have the exception to the rule up here in the Panhandle and southeast Oklahoma, and almost here in southwest Oklahoma. But some 30s was a little colder spot to the air mass up across the northwest. If we do look at the jet stream pattern, our pattern is still looking to stay in that active mode like we talked about before. So nothing is changing on the timing, nothing is changing on how things look. This little batch of upper level lift and some moisture will start to transverse the state here on Sunday, with other waves coming in after that, little spokes of instability. That's going to provide us some much needed rainfall across this area. Pretty good lift here with this, and pretty good storm here that'll move through for Monday. That'll kick off. A secondary one here comes in for Tuesday and Wednesday. That one kind of hangs for a while. So we're kind of stuck in this rut of this southwest flow aloft, which means we're going to stay probably pretty rainy off and on from Sunday night through, looks like at this point anyway, from this map, through Thursday. And I haven't looked at other models to see how the extent is going to change a little bit. I've been just too focused on the short term. Hold on. You, my friend, have impeccable timing. All right, get your love in. Yes. All right. Are you better? Is that all you needed? One more? You know how children are. They're very needy. Okay. All right, you go. Okay. Let's see if that was enough. All right, anyway, so back on the dew point. I swear, every time I think she hears me talking, I think it's when she runs in the office and wants to see what's going on. Okay, so let's see. Let's track the dew point values that drop here out of Canada. That's where the major cold air is in the dry air. We'll put this into motion for you. We're going to watch how this the browns and kind of the orange shading, which is really dry air, works its way down to the south. And it's going to take a good trajectory here across the eastern slopes of the Rockies, and then a big chunk of it's going to move here across the Midwest. So we're going to get a glancing blow, but look how it goes all the way down to Texas. We get that dark brown color all the way down there before it's to rebound here toward the end of the period. Let's see, this is by Sunday evening, and you can see moisture starts to replace the fringe of that Arctic air mass, but we're still in the teens here for dew point value, so it's still pretty dry in Oklahoma at the surface. So we will get a pretty good shot. It won't be the strongest, but at least it is a good shot of Arctic air. Okay, so for wind speeds, as we talked about here for today, like I said, not nearly as strong, kind of out of the northwest. They'll die down here later this afternoon from where they already are. And then you see this big line of wind right here. That is our next Arctic blast coming in this evening. Probably hitting the Oklahoma City metro area, probably about 8 o'clock, moving through, otherwise already through the rest of the northwestern parts of the state, and then clearing Oklahoma by midnight tonight. So very windy tonight. We'll have wind gusts up around 30 plus miles per hour. Here's a look at those winds right there. So there's 40, maybe even close to 50 miles per hour at times as that front passes through. There's 11 p.m. So there you go. Still some red color on the map, which indicates winds over 40 miles per hour hanging out there across the southern half of the state while you sleep. And then by daybreak, those winds are still pretty gusty, so it'll give us a good wind chill. We'll show you that in a second. Otherwise, the winds will calm down for Wednesday afternoon, and then they kind of go pretty light out of the north by the end of the day on Friday. Then after that, as far as any strong winds go, we're probably going to have our usual, like 10 to 15 miles per hour for Saturday. Not a big deal at all. And same thing kind of for Sunday until late day. All right, so here's a look at the temperatures. Like we talked about this morning, it was a cold start, but we're already on our way. So right now, if you blend the models, they're going to go pretty warm today. They're going to go about 47 here in Oklahoma City. Will we hit that? Yeah, it might be close. Otherwise, some 50s down along the Red River. And then here's that big push of colder air that comes in. So we've got, because it's not coming in any earlier, that will allow us a few hours extra to get warm. I think my blog on Sunday, I said you have to watch out for those things. If they come in a little early, it would curtail the warm up. So Thursday was a big question mark. So it looks like it'll hold another few hours and allow us to warm up, which is good for the thaw. All right, so here's Thursday again this evening. We'll be cooling you down into the 20s rather quickly. By daybreak tomorrow, we're going to be up around the 15-degree range in Oklahoma City. Teens down south. Might even squeeze out some single digits along the Kansas border during the 6 to 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock hour. Otherwise, a slight rebound in those temperatures for Friday afternoon. We should be up around the 20s statewide. Might even squeeze out some low 30s down along the Childress area, Wichita Falls, that kind of deal in southwestern Oklahoma. Otherwise, back into the teens and single digits we go for Saturday. And then Saturday afternoon, just right past it. Where are we going? There we go. Saturday afternoon, we're back into the mid to upper 20s across central, southern Oklahoma, maybe even low 20s in the far northeastern corner. And then on Sunday, starting off into the teens and low 20s. And then models like to warm us up by lunchtime right around the freezing point here in central Oklahoma and topping out the day in the low to mid 30s statewide before the precipitation starts. Then once precipitation starts and the sun goes down, we're back below freezing, and that's where we start to get our ice accumulations through Monday morning. And this is a model blend right now, so this is on the conservative side, not swaying one way or the other, taking the median approach. But by lunchtime on Monday, you do see temperatures statewide should be above freezing. So again, we're only looking at a 6 to 12 hour window of ice accumulations. But a lot can happen in that 6 to 12 hour window. But anyway, so there you go, and that's for Monday. Like I said, pretty decent recovery. Okay, so let's take a look at that wind chill value for Friday morning. It's going to feel like it's in the single digits, maybe even below zero, where you see the purple. And that's kind of dipping around central Oklahoma and pretty much along and north of the I-40 corridor. But by the afternoon, it won't be nearly as windy as we talked about, so the recovery will be pretty nice. It'll still be cold, though, wind chill values in the teens across most of the state for our Friday. Okay, so we talked about the cold air will make its way into Texas. So I'll start you. Let's go to Friday afternoon. All right. And then we'll go to Saturday morning. All right, so obviously cold way down here in southern Texas, but this is the Arctic air down here will erode rather quickly. during the day on Saturday down here, as you can see. The blue line, the blue colors represents the freezing line, so that's through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then as we head on to Sunday, kind of a rinse and repeat. They start off cold in the morning, but they rebound quite a bit for the afternoon by Sunday at lunchtime. And then Sunday evening, we start to see what will happen is the temperature's cooling back down with the precipitation starting. So the trend I have seen, I guess you could say, in the last 24 hours is to have the freezing line edge just a little bit to the north, which may keep Dallas-Fort Worth just barely out of it. We'll see. This is a model blend, so it's not 100% infallible, but that's been the trend, I guess, if you have to look for one. Just a slight recovery in those temperatures a little sooner. So we'll see. It'll be a close call down there, but they are on the southern fringe of this activity from day one, and they're still kind of on that southern fringe. We'll see if this trend here continues. But by Monday morning, again, below freezing all across Arkansas, Missouri, so any precipitation falling will be ice. And as we head into Monday midday, still some pockets of freezing rain that will accumulate on bridges and overpasses and whatnot where you see the blue areas. But otherwise, for the afternoon, it should be a mostly recovery of temperatures in this area just to allow a cold rain. And of course, that goes for the rest of Oklahoma and North Texas too. So still, we're looking at that 6 to 12 hour window of ice accumulations from far north Texas through Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas up through about midday on Monday. So here's kind of how things should, in theory, pan out. As we go to Sunday afternoon, we should start to see some light drizzle, light freezing precipitation, and some light cold rain develop here across central northern Texas and Oklahoma. And that continues through the evening hours into the midnight hours. You can see how it blossoms. And this is, again, the I-44 corridor, Ken, seems to be our, line in the sand where we're kind of putting the brakes on the most northwestern movement. You get a little on the other side of the line, but obviously it's basically from that boundary to the south and east. So what we're talking about, and that extends on off up Missouri and, of course, Arkansas and North Texas. The little pink area is where you see the precipitation in the form of freezing rain. All right, let's go to the Monday morning. You can see how the freezing line has already moved along the Red River Valley, so it's no longer in Texas at all, but it continues elsewhere, though, in the same areas we've been talking about. And then we head to the noontime hour. You can see how most of the freezing rain signals are gone, replaced with regular, good old-fashioned cold rain and heavy rain at that. You see this? This is some heavy rain, maybe some thunderstorms. That's probably going to develop in the morning hours to midday. Now, not severe, but enough to produce some very heavy rainfall. And that's a problem, especially if we were all below freezing. I mean, really bad. But luckily, because of the way this pattern is, it will allow warm air advection to take over and moderate those temperatures. The reason for that is we have a very high precipitable water content. In other words, this is how much water you could put in a sponge in the atmosphere. And if you could wring out that sponge of the entire atmosphere, you'd get a ton of moisture, which is unheard of for wintertime. And you can also see the, let's just call it the axis of moisture, which kind of runs in this fashion, and then kind of goes something like this. You're going to see there's a little secondary split here at the beginning stages, but needless to say, most of it's going to go in this fashion. If you look, that's the European, here's the Canadian, here's the American, and here's the icon. So this is why you have more of your heavier precipitation in this round. We're kind of on the fringe, and that kind of talks about my explanation before. So this is why it's important, because we have to look at the amount of moisture that can fall in that. We call the QPF, which is quantitative precipitation forecast. Fancy way of saying rain if it's all liquid, but you can transfer that into snow and multiply by certain ratios. In this case, we're just going to deal with rain and ice. But regardless, this is the Canadian model up through Monday morning. Again, this is just over basically a 6-hour window. It has already produced up to about a ½ inch of rain here in south central Oklahoma. Now that would be all ice. And that's why you have to be really careful with these events when you get a situation like this with a lot of moisture. Down here into Texas, you're talking about an inch of rain through Tarrant County. So you better be above freezing when that stuff happens. Let's see, the European model doesn't have nearly as much heavy precipitation during that 6-hour window. It backed off anywhere from a quarter to maybe, there you go, a quarter of an inch, third of an inch. Even out here in eastern Oklahoma, there's a ½ inch. The American model went gangbusters. One to almost 1.5 inches down here along the Red River in northern Texas. So again, if temperatures are all below freezing during this time, that's a problem. That's widespread ½ inch to 3/4 inch ice accumulations just through Monday morning. That's before temperatures moderate. If you look at the icon model, same idea. A lot of areas here, anywhere from 1/10 to ½ an inch easy of ice accumulations. And this little line right here Again, that's the I-44 corridor. Isn't that funny? It's so funny. We talk about that boundary all the time. It always seems to be a maker in our weather. It's really strange. The UK Met also has pretty good amounts of rain, kind of hit and miss, but not nearly as widespread. But it's not. It's an inferior model, so we don't put a whole lot of weight to that one. Okay, so now when you want to talk about the freezing rain accumulations, we're talking about ice, and this will be on bridges, overpasses, trees, power lines, all that jazz. So the Europeans finally on board. It finally woke up and go, oh, we're going to have an ice storm. Okay, no problem. And it's going to dump anywhere from 1/10 to maybe 1/4 of an inch over parts of Oklahoma, maybe heavier spots out here in the east, and then it favors this little western parts of Arkansas, and now really favors Missouri. It really likes Missouri all of a sudden. But you can see it keeps it pretty much along the Red River and points northward. So it keeps Dallas-Fort Worth out of it. But the European, believe it or not, has been one of the warmer models. The Canadian model also keeps it kind of just north of DFW. So same kind of idea with some heavier spots here in western Arkansas, this spot in Missouri. And it favors probably some convergence action, but right here, sweet spot here, just south and east of Oklahoma City, where amounts are up to around 1/2 inch of ice accumulations. Again, this is just through Monday morning. I stopped it Monday morning because I wanted a conservative amount, because if we do start to warm things up hour by hour, I didn't want any contamination, just rainfall and messing up what potentially could be for these totals. But look at the GFS American model. It has an interesting little cold pool west of DFW, just on the west side of Tarrant County. But otherwise, the same kind of overall look to it. Not nearly as filled in as it should be. But regardless, it does show you the highlights here, anywhere from 1/10 to 1/4, 3/10 of an inch of ice accumulations there, and higher in the east. And again, that little spot in Missouri, but they love Missouri now all of a sudden. Anyway, so that's kind of how that breakdown is. So nothing really has changed in the data. Like I said, the Weather Service put this graphic out not long ago. It was a probability of ice accumulations, and you can see this is Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and kind of in that favorite area where we're looking at the model data hotspots. So this one here and the one out here. So that would be the higher probabilities of ice accumulations. Ground temperatures are into the 30s, obviously, because we've had that cold weather. So they're above freezing for the most part, barely in some cases. Out here in northeast Oklahoma is probably the coldest. But what that means is you're not going to have any help from the ground heat when we start to get that light precipitation. So you will have what we call flash freezing. So any freezing drizzle, any drops of rain is going to be instant ice covered on the roadways, bridges, your cars, etc. So it will become an ice skating rink very quickly. All right, temperatures. Well, teens next few nights. Daytime highs for Friday, Saturday in the 20s. Sunday, again, it depends. Clouds will roll in midday. So whether or not we climb above 35, 36 degrees in question, regardless, we're going to fall back down. So Monday morning, looks like upper 20s is a good start. And that may be like around midnight kind of a deal, where we stay like at 28. And then maybe a couple hours later, we're at 29. A couple hours after that, we're at 30. A couple hours at, we're at 31 degrees, at daybreak, that kind of deal. And then we will eventually get above freezing at that point. Probably late morning is my guess, here across most areas of Oklahoma. And then we'll see if we hit 40. Again, it depends on we get some clearing or just the stop in the rain. Anything like that might get us there. Otherwise, Monday will still be a cold day. And then these are fine. But if we do have rain off and on, we may not hit these upper 40s, because that'll keep things on the cooler side, even though we don't have any more Arctic air in place. So if you're asking me what's going to happen on Monday morning for work, for school, for everything else, just imagine an ice skating rink and then plan accordingly. And then if for whatever reason the temperatures warm up by daybreak, so a few hours ahead of schedule, that's fine. And then that just means the trouble that we had was overnight Sunday with any moisture that we get. So again, we're looking at a 6 to 12 hour window with all that fun stuff. Let me think if there's anything else. That was pretty much it. I can show you other things, but I've shown you most of the stuff that we've talked about over the last few days. Just show you some cool stuff to look at for all the weather geeking out. But the take home message is still the same. I know some of you last night asked me what's the qualifications or status of an ice storm. And let's not be confused with minutia. That's a good way of putting it. So here's the deal. Normally we talk about weather, we talk about storm systems, all right? So we have a storm coming in, right? Okay. And then we describe what kind of storm. Is it a winter storm, snowstorm, ice storm, thunderstorm? But the word storm is used because it's a storm system. which changes our weather abruptly, brings heavy precipitation, etc. All right, so you can classify it and categorize it in that fashion. Now, some of you are getting lost, probably because of other people online or TV or whatever, arguing the point, well, it's not going to be an ice storm warning. I give two, you know what? I don't care what the hourly issue is at the time. That is a situation where the Weather Service will issue an ice storm warning once accumulations are expected to be 1/4 of an inch or higher, expected on a power outage situation. That's a short-term deal. So if you're waiting for an ice storm warning to get triggered before you mention anything about this event, you're waiting up until Sunday evening before that happens, and that's pretty foolish. So yeah, it's a storm. It's an ice storm because it's going to be freezing rain and drizzle, and therefore it's going to cause problems on roadways and infrastructure, and some power outages, especially where you get those places that are over 1/4 of an inch, usually where that happens, and usually on the heavier side, like up to 3/10, 4/10, half an inch, because we don't have a lot of wind to make things worse. So wind and lower amounts of ice will do a lot of power outage issues, whereas just a load of ice without wind won't do as much, but there's still a trade-off. And I don't know where the sweet spot is. I just know the general rule of thumb is between 1/4 to half inch is when you have problems. So as long as the winds are down low, hopefully in theory, as long as we don't get too much accumulation, the power outage should be kept to a minimum versus what they could be in a situation like this. But regardless, it all melts. Whatever falls, whatever sticks on everything you have, surface-based, will be melted by late Monday morning into Monday afternoon across the state. And therefore, things will go back to as though it never even happened. So that's the best news I have for this system. It's a 1-2, short, quick in and out deal. And then we don't have to deal with the repercussions, of just staying locked in to the 20s or teens and having that ice stick around for days on end. We don't have anything like that. So that's good news. So it is what it is. All right, so that's, let's see, it's time for me to get out of here. I go back because lunchtime is coming to an end. I do want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for sending me the stars. So Susan, appreciate you. David as well, like I mentioned earlier. Who else? Diana did it. Let's see, Julia, thank you. Melinda, appreciate you. And, Melinda, two Melindas. And this Melinda spelled differently. Never seen it spelled that way. So thank you, ladies. And I'm going to get out of here. So enjoy the rest of the day. I'll do the live here tonight. We'll look at the new data that comes in. So by tomorrow, so Friday, any data that comes in from the morning onward, because the Arctic air will be in place, we'll know exactly better how much colder we're going to be, dew point values, where the freezing line will be, and how easy it'll be to modify based off the thickness of the Arctic air and all that kind of stuff. So all that becomes more clear because we have the high resolution models that will finally be in that window to look at that data, and that improves the forecast when you're trying to micro tune it to little tiny little areas. So that's what's helpful. This is the best I can give you based off a global generic model forecast, which isn't bad. It's pretty specific, but we can get a lot more specific with that high resolution data. But this should be enough to get you the main story. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next broadcast. Take care.